Hello, YouTube family. Please like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel. Sunrise for All-in-One.
Introducing the warrior mindset. Have you ever felt like life is hard? Like it can sometimes be a struggle to get up in the morning and do all the things that you have to do? Do you ever wake up feeling constantly tired and stressed? Does life just seem too much? Sure, I get it. You have lots of work to do. Perhaps you have debt. Maybe you're tired from shopping and maybe you've got a stomachache. Now, think about a true warrior. Think about someone who has a rough sleep, unsure of whether or not they're going to die during the night. Then they wake up, no time for a shower or a nice breakfast, and they leap straight into action. They ignore their wounds, they take lives, and they see their friends and their brothers in arms shot and killed in front of them. But no, I get it. You're tired. You had to work until 6 p.m. last night. What I'm getting at is that your life isn't really that hard. You might think it's hard, and sometimes it might even feel hard. But there are people out there with much worse lives than you. There are people out there who live with crippling illnesses and don't have 2 cents to rub together. And many of them do this with a dignity, a grace, and a bravery that puts the rest of us to shame. You see, the warrior mindset actually has nothing to do with combat. In fact, the hooligans that start bar fights and that think they're tough for starting fights are about as far from true warriors as it gets. Ask anyone who has seen real combat if they would want to risk their health and waste their energy on looking for trouble. The warrior mindset is different. This is about knowing what you want and going for it. It's about being tough, and it's about not letting little things get you down. It's about pushing ahead with what you know is right. And it's about carrying responsibility and hardship on your shoulders with dignity and pride. It's about not letting your emotions get the better of you. And it's about not taking the easy road to solve your problems. What is the warrior mindset? So where does this title and this approach come from? What is the theory behind the warrior's mindset? Of course, it comes from our romantic image of the warrior, and from stories of warriors from history. It comes from tales of our bravest men and women who fought actual battles while remaining cool-headed, sacrificing themselves for others and doing incredible things. Now, we all know that in reality, not every warrior fits this mold. For every heroic individual who put themselves in the line of fire, there would have been hundreds of other soldiers that complained, that were in it for the wrong reasons, or that wouldn't put themselves in danger for others. Romanticizing warfare is in fact a terrible idea. It is a truly horrific state of affairs, and very few people feel like warriors when they are faced with enemy fire. But it's that image of the ideal warrior that we're looking at here, and at history's greatest warriors like the samurai or the Spartans. The point is that some people manage to stay cool and calm, even in the worst situations. Some people constantly forge ahead and do not allow small inconveniences or lack of creature comforts stand in their way. And those people put us to shame. Those people make our complaints seem very minor indeed. Now imagine if you could take that same mindset and apply it to modern life. Instead of getting tired or bogged down, instead of being distracted and tempted, you would instead drive forward with an unstoppable, bulletproof mentality. Your enemies would quake knowing that there was nothing they could do to stop you and your career obstacles. Relationship goals and financial plans would all crumble beneath your will. If you apply an iron will and warrior mentality to a modern lifestyle, you get extreme efficiency, determination, and pride. Self-discipline, determination, and self-sufficiency are traits that make us strong and that help us get what we want. They are traits that make us good parents, good friends, and good partners. They are traits that help us to live with ourselves and to earn respect and admiration from others. Imagine if you had the mental toughness to sit in a freezing cold shower for hours on end. Imagine if you weren't fazed in life-threatening situations. Take those traits and then put them up against the absolutely measly challenges that most of us face today. They would fall like dominoes. Having a warrior's mindset and going through modern life is like bulging with muscles and having to lift 5 kilograms. Developing that warrior's mindset is like a workout for your mind, your philosophy, and your soul. It will make you unstoppable. The aim, what it takes to be a warrior. So what are the tenets of the warrior mindset? What words can we use to describe the modern warrior? Here are just a few. Courageous, self-disciplined, principled, strong-willed, kind, growth-oriented, self-sufficient, protective, self-sacrificing, calm, responsible, motivational, inspiring, charismatic, noble, powerful, modest, though not necessarily humble. These are just some of the traits that a true warrior should strive for. These are some of the things we will be looking to cultivate and better understand throughout this training. Another great description of a warrior comes from an unlikely source, the Disney film Mulan. These quotes are from the song "I'll Make a Man Out of You," but in fact, they can apply equally to a woman. Oh, and in case you don't want to learn lessons on chivalry from a Disney film, consider the fact that Jackie Chan sang the Chinese version of the song. He's one of life's true warriors, so perhaps that gives it just a little more weight. Tranquil as a forest, but on fire within. Once you find your center, you are sure to win. We must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Still and calm on the outside then, but with great power and strength on the inside. Not driven by impulse or whim, but by a greater purpose. Never bending to the will of others, and never giving up when the going gets tough. That is the warrior spirit. Times you are not a warrior. You probably don't live on the battlefield, and you probably hopefully will never need to see combat, although this training will ensure that you are ready in case you ever do. But there are plenty of ways that the warrior mindset will apply in your day-to-day life as well, and plenty of opportunities to demonstrate what it takes to be a warrior. Perhaps the easiest way to consider this is to look at all those times that you weren't a warrior in your life. These are the times when your fear, your anger, or your lack of motivation and willpower got the better of you. Consider this. You wake up in the morning and realize your favorite shirt is torn. You spend the rest of the day angry with everyone, sulking and not focusing on your work. This very small inconvenience has ruined your ability to stay productive, and it has made other people feel bad. It's raining out, so you call off your plans to visit your friend down the road, who you know is looking forward to get together. You're trying to lose weight, but you're low on energy, and so you eat a large piece of cake. A friend faints at a party, and instead of staying calm and following a correct protocol to make sure they're okay, you instead get in a flap, scream at everyone, and make matters worse. Your boss needs you to complete an assignment before you go home. You resent the idea of staying later, and you're feeling tired, so you rush it and put in less than your best work. You have been telling friends for years that you're going to write a book, and that it is your dream to become a published author. You get home, and the first thing you do is crash on the couch and watch trashy TV. You see horrific acts of violence on the news, and are stirred to react by voting for extreme right-wing political movements. You respond emotionally rather than logically, and allow fear to turn into hatred. You break a glass in the kitchen, and when your partner asks who did it, you blame your friend who was around the other day. You get into a physical altercation with someone in the street, and run away, leaving your friends or family to deal with the danger on their own. You are getting onto a train, and instead of letting the elderly lady on in front of you, you push ahead. Your friends are peer pressuring you into smoking weed, and accusing you of not being fun. Smoking weed is something you have no interest in, but in this hypothetical situation, you let yourself get talked into it for fear of appearing lame. You are happily married when an attractive woman or man makes a move on you. You give in to your momentary impulse, and you sleep with him, effectively wrecking your relationship with not only your partner, but your children as well. You are unhappy in your relationship or job, but you stay in it because you don't have the heart to tell the person, or you are too afraid of what the future might bring. Some of these examples are more extreme than others. Of course, there is a big difference between eating ice cream when you really shouldn't and being swayed by hate speech. And occasionally, losing your cool is normal. But while these points might all seem very different, they essentially come from the same thing: weakness. Weakness is often the source of our problems, and even of evil. Weakness means giving into things we know aren't right, or making excuses and putting off our goals. Now let's look at how someone strong might approach the same issues. You wake up in the morning and realize your favorite shirt is torn. You shrug and wear something else, recognizing this as a very small issue in the grand scheme of things. It's raining out, and you don't feel like going out, but you know it's the right thing to do, so you man up and you go. You're trying to lose weight, but you're low on energy. You dig deep, find that fire within, and head to the gym. A friend faints at a party, and you remain calm, cool, and collected. You assign jobs to people and check to make sure your friend is okay. Your boss needs you to complete an assignment before you go home. You resent the idea of staying later, and you're feeling tired, but you complete the work to the best of your ability nevertheless. You speak to your boss about putting you in that position again. You have been telling friends for years that you're going to write a book, and that it is your dream to become a published author. You get home and resolve to write 2 pages a night. You see horrific acts of violence on the news, and are stirred to think more deeply about what gives these problems room to grow. You recognize that you are not statistically in danger, but that the world is currently hurting. You ask what you can do for your community. You break a glass in the kitchen, and when your partner asks who did it, you own up and face the consequences. You get into a physical altercation with someone in the street. You make sure your family and friends are safe while trying to calm the situation as best you can. You were getting onto a train, and you always stop to let the old lady on first, and the old man, and anyone who was there first. Your friends are peer pressuring you into smoking weed and accusing you of not being fun. If you want to, you do it. If you don't, you don't. You are happily married when an attractive woman or man makes their move on you. You have control over your feelings, so you turn them down. You are unhappy in your relationship or job, so you discuss that unhappiness with the other party and look for ways to improve the situation. And that might mean finding a new job or ending the relationship, but it is better than dragging it out. The warrior is mentally and physically strong, and this allows them to stick to their code of ethics and to work towards their vision for a better future, instead of doing what makes them feel good in the short term. Ultimately, this leads to much better happiness, much greater peace, and much greater pride, and not just for you, but for all those around you. The fire within. That line, the fire within, is one that speaks great volumes about the warrior mindset, and it calls to mind lyrics from another song, Hearts on Fire by the excellent band Survivor. A great line from that song goes, "In the warrior's code, there's no surrender. Though his body says stop, his spirit cries never." So what is this telling us about the warrior mentality? Simple. Warriors don't give up, and they don't give in. I also enjoy Vegeta's line, "You may have invaded my mind and body, but there's one thing a Saiyan always keeps, his pride." So how do you gain this kind of iron will and determination? How do you develop the unstoppable ability to never give up? It starts by knowing what you want to achieve, and by having a set of your own principles. To use yet another quote, Alice Cooper and Exhibit saying, "If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything." And this is completely true. If you have no specific goal and no set of values that are entirely your own, then how can you be expected to stick rigidly to those values? If you haven't defined who you are, what you're about, and what is important to you, then of course it will be easy to get tempted by good food, trashy TV, or other easy options. Of course, it will be easy for you to be swayed by the influence and the politics of others. Moreover, having a goal is what will give you the motivation and the energy to get up and work toward the things you are truly excited about. Think about someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dwayne Johnson. These are people who have accomplished incredible things, and part of the reason for that is undoubtedly their seemingly endless energy, their ability to get up every single day and know what they want to do. Can you imagine seeing The Rock look tired and dejected? Have you ever seen Arnold Schwarzenegger look indifferent or bored? These people have tireless energy, but it comes from a vision and a goal. And so it is with all the most accomplished people throughout history. Arnie said this of his burning desire and how it led him to accomplish his goals. "With my desire and drive, I definitely wasn't normal. Normal people can be happy with a regular life. I was different. I felt there was more to life than plodding through a normal existence. I have always been impressed by stories of greatness and power. I wanted to do something special, to be recognized as the best. I saw bodybuilding as a vehicle that would take me to the top, and I put all my energy into it." The point is, knowing what you want from life will fuel you with energy, whether that is wanting what's best for your family, wanting to achieve creative accomplishments, wanting to reach a certain point in your career, etc. Think about a new parent. Parents have seemingly endless energy and will sacrifice their sleep, their finances, and their happiness to look after their children. They can accomplish anything, because they have found something greater than themselves. A parent's love will give them that warrior's mindset, but you can't rely on just that. In order to accomplish the most and to build the best world for your family and friends, you also need something that is intrinsically motivating to you. In other words, you need a purpose and a goal that doesn't rely on anyone else, so that even when no one needs you, you still have the strength to pull yourself out of bed and to refuse distractions and unhelpful desires. Once you have your goal, you will find a passion. And once you have a passion, you will find that you have endless energy and drive, and that you even speak with more conviction and greater charisma. Did you know that we gesticulate more when we speak about something that we're passionately about? That's because we are now speaking with our entire bodies. Our body language is congruent with what we are saying. And did you know that when people see us speak in that way, they actually rate us as more charismatic, more inspiring, and better leaders? When we really believe in what we are saying, we will be more efficient at getting others to believe it. This is how movements are started, and this makes us far more attractive and magnetic. And with your goal and your objective, you will be better able to make decisions and to avoid unnecessary distractions. You will be more decisive and you will be more impressive. Why? Because you can consider every decision through the following lens. Does this help me to achieve my goals? If the answer is no, then you need to do something else. What career path should you take? The one that helps you to achieve your overarching goals. What party should you vote for? The one that helps you to fulfill your vision. Goals and the warriors. The point of the goal is to have something that is greater than yourself, something worth fighting for. The single-mindedness is something that was central to the psychology of all of history's greatest warriors, though it took a very different form. Historically, you had your samurai and your knights. A samurai's training went to great measures to ensure their loyalty to a shogun, a master samurai. They would be willing to die for their shogun, just as king's knights would be willing to die for king and for country. Today, though, this is dangerous thinking. We are all too aware that our politicians are flawed, and we've seen how blindly following a leader or a set of beliefs can lead to terrible atrocities. So what we need to do instead is to create our own set of values and principles, rules to live by, and a goal or a vision to strive for. This can change, but we must never let others force us to act against our code. Unfortunately, there is no objectively correct way to approach life. We don't know why reality exists, what is waiting for us on the other side, if anything, or what the meaning of life is. Therefore, it is up to each of us to make our own way by assessing our own values, principles, and rules to live by. Finding your goal. So let us start with finding a goal, something greater than yourself to strive toward, a purpose that you will be an instrument in accomplishing. So this might mean that you set about changing the world for the better. Maybe you want to put an end to world hunger. Maybe you want to help slow down global warming. Or perhaps you are interested in becoming a rock star or a musician. Maybe you just want to get rich. No goal is wrong. It is simply having a goal and something to be passionate about that will give you the fuel and the fire to keep going no matter what. Goals start with visions. So visualize the way you want life to be 5 or 10 years from now. Picture where you are, what your surroundings are, who you are with, what you've accomplished. This should be a vision that makes you excited and energized. Your perfect life. For inspiration, consider the times in your life you were happiest. Consider what you wanted to be as a child, and picture some of your role models and what you can perhaps learn from them. That is what you will picture in order to drive yourself toward change and toward greatness. This is what will get you out of bed in the morning. And then on top of that, you're going to structure your goals into smaller, more measurable steps that will help you to reach your destination, creating your own code of ethics. On top of this, you will build your own code of ethics, your idea of what you consider to be living well and doing the right thing. Again, this doesn't have to be your conventional set of rules. It might be that you don't agree with some aspects of the law. Some well-known philosophers are known for views that stray from conventional ideas about ethics and morality. Take Ayn Rand, for example, who believed that morality comes from what makes him happiest. She said, "Man has no automatic code of survival. His senses do not tell him automatically what is good for him or evil, what will benefit his life or endanger it, what goals he should pursue, and what means will achieve them, what values his life depends on. what course of action it requires. Man must choose his actions, values, and goals by the standard of that which is proper to man, in order to achieve, maintain, fulfill, and enjoy that ultimate value, that end in itself, which is his own life. She believed that individual morality should be based on what makes that individual happiest. That means working on things that you love, improving yourself, and protecting the ones you care about, who in turn make you happier. Rand would suggest that we should look after our families and our loved ones, pursue our passions and our self-betterment, and that way contribute to society. Whatever you believe your code to be, write it down, and then commit to stick to that code. That way, you won't be persuaded by other people. You will be able to fight for your values, and people will know where they stand with you. That said, you also shouldn't be afraid to evolve and adapt your ideas over time. That is why it is so important to keep reading and keep learning. Keep up to date with politics and what is going on in the world. Read philosophy and reassess your values. There is no value in sticking to one set of goals or principles indefinitely and refusing to readdress them, as ultimately this becomes a lie as much as any other. You should not vote a certain way because you've always voted a certain way, and you should not be afraid to reassess the way that you feel about certain aspects of your code. The point is that you will not break your code of conduct while it exists. You have standards to uphold, and the simple act of upholding them will make you a stronger, braver, and more impressive individual. And note that in the ideal scenario, there should be some interplay between what you believe, your personal code of ethics, your goals, and your political views. Hopefully, you have a vision for where you think the world should go, what you think life should be like. Your goals are there to help you achieve that, while your code of ethics should also ensure that you don't miss the trees for the forest. All this results in you becoming a person who knows what they believe and who knows themselves. And when you know that, you will be a greater and more powerful individual. Overcoming fear. When we think of the archetypical warrior, we will almost certainly be sure to think of someone that is brave, courageous, and seemingly fearless. This is a kind of person that will walk into the line of fire, that will speak out against injustice, that will take on enemies that are much greater than themselves. In our personal lives, there are no real dragons to slay. Rather, they take on many other forms, whether they be illness, whether they be debt, or whether they be the struggle of going to the gym every day. How to use fear setting. If you are a fan of reading self-help literature, then chances are that at some point you will have written down your goals. This is something that almost every guru seems to advise, and that many claim can help you to accomplish your dreams by better defining and visualizing them. But in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, this advice is turned on its head somewhat. While Tim doesn't necessarily have a problem with goal setting per se, he also recommends doing essentially the opposite by fear setting. And he claims it can do a great deal more than goal setting when it comes to realizing your goals and getting more from life. What is fear setting? The general idea behind fear setting is that you're defining the fears that are holding you back so that you can face them. In most cases, Tim postulates that after doing this, you'll find that your fears are actually relatively unfounded, and thus you'll move forward and past them. Normally, our fears are of irreversible negative outcomes, but actually, these are rarer than you might think. So what you do is to write down the absolute worst possible outcomes for doing whatever it is you want to do, and then write down all the ways you'd cope with the situation or possibly reverse it. An example, changing career. Let's take changing your career as an example. This is something that a lot of people want to do, but feel held back by fear of the potential repercussions. By defining those fears, though, you can minimize their potency. So, if you were going to write down the worst possible outcomes for changing careers, it might well look something like this. I might leave my job only to fail to find another job. I might be unable to pay the mortgage and thus be forced to move home. This could upset my partner so much that they leave me. I might get the job I think I want and find out I hate it more than my last job. I might apply for other jobs only to get rejected by everyone and end up damaging my ego. These are all real concerns. But now, if you think about all the ways you can manage risk and reduce the impacts of those negative outcomes, you'll find your fears aren't all that founded. I can look for jobs without leaving my current job to avoid the risk of unemployment. No one has to know. This will also be a lot less reckless in the eyes of my partner. Alternatively, I could speak to my boss about my problems and see if there are other positions within my organization. If I do end up out of work, I could always speak to my old boss about getting my job back, or work in a supermarket while I look for other work for my dad, live off of savings for a couple of months, or move back home with the parents. If my partner leaves me for trying to become happier, then I need to reassess that relationship. If I don't like the job I find next, then I will feel more confident about job hunting again in the future. If I struggle to get accepted anywhere, I can work on my interview technique, improve my CV, or seek career guidance, all of which will be useful experiences anyway. As you can see then, the very worst scenario is probably not as bad as it seems. It may just mean living off of savings for a while or taking a small step backwards in order to take two forwards. Likewise, there are so many ways to minimize the risk of things going wrong. It's actually quite unlikely you'll end up in those positions anyway. In the 4-hour workweek, Tim also gives one other piece of advice that I feel is very relevant here. Don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness. Take that attitude and outline your fears, and you're on track to a happier version of yourself, as well as to accomplishing so much more.
Hello, YouTube family. Please like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel. Sunrise for All in One.